Today I fucked up by getting a vibrator stuck in my ass. Quick backstory. I'm a female that likes a little ass play when pleasuring myself. One day, I was doing what I do while laying in bed. I had my favorite toy on my womanhood and a smaller vibrator in my asshole. It was a little pink bullet that had a cock ring on one end. I think the idea is for the guy to put it on and we both feel it. I just liked how it had a little ring to hold on to. So I was going and getting closer. I was really getting into it and was pushing harder on the bullet. It slipped inside and it felt amazing. That's all I needed to push me over the edge. I let go of the bullet and rode the wave. First mistake. Thought the ring part was big enough to not slip in. Second mistake. I clenched and contracted like humans do, and at the peak of climax, I felt it slip in. Immediately I panicked. Third mistake. I shoved a finger up there to hopefully grab the ring, but the angle I was at caused it to retreat more at the presence of a finger. I then stood up. Maybe gravity would help. I dug 2 fingers up my ass while pushing as hard as I can. I was in full-blown panic mode at this point. I've heard horror stories of having to go to the hospital to retrieve objects out of asses. I just couldn't get a grip on it. Everything was so wet and slippery that it kept getting pushed further inside. I decided the best thing to do was to stop with the fingers and just push. Women push babies out every day. I can push a small toy out of my ass. Admittedly, my pussy can stretch much easier than my asshole can, lol. I pushed and pushed and pushed. I could feel my head getting red and hot. I pushed so hard that I projectile vomited all over the bathroom floor and toilet. I didn't stop. I just kept pushing. Eventually I felt the tip of the ring pop out. As fast as I could, I shoved my pinky finger about a centimeter in and looped it around the ring. I pulled and it finally came free. I sat there, shaking and sweating, looking at my vomit-covered floor while holding the vibrator in my hand. All I could do was to throw the toy in the sink, laugh my ass off at the stupidness, and take a shower. I learned my lesson. Only using things with flared bases now. Too long didn't read, was playing with myself. As I came, a bullet toy slipped into my ass. Vomited all over everything trying to push it out. It came out. I showered. Dear God. Yeah, I haven't used that toy since then, Lamau. This happens all the time. I worked in an operating room for a while and in emergency services now. And with it being that small, it probably would have worked itself out eventually. Problem truly comes when it's something big enough to obstruct the colon and cause a blockage. Smiley face. I've seen way too many things come out of there. Flared bases are the way to go. Good for you being able to laugh about it. Best session ever. It was definitely eventful. Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face. The ads are getting smarter. Sorry about your butthole. Once lost an entire butt plug because the base wasn't wide enough and the dick was too good. We both looked around to see if it had popped out and then I felt it shift. I sat on the toilet for a good 15 minutes panicking trying to poop it out. Thanks for the giggle. T-shaped bases are the way to go, emo. Did you get it out? Today I fucked up by laughing uncontrollably when my wife asked me how she looks. This happened earlier today and I'm still laughing. My wife walked into the living room while I was laying on the couch. From my angle, I could see her face before I saw the rest of her. Based on her face, I could tell she was feeling cute. So I was getting ready to hype her up and tell her she looked cute. Then I saw what she was wearing. It was an overalls type thing, but with shorts instead of long pants. And underneath, she was wearing a yellow shirt. How do I look? She said while doing a little pose. I started laughing so hard before I said like a fucking minion. I couldn't stop laughing while my poor, but today I fucked up wife walked back to the bedroom and changed before leaving the house. It probably wasn't my smartest idea when I yelled don't forget your goggles as she walked out the door. Too long didn't read, my wife looked like a minion. Honesty isn't always a bad thing. Better tell her than she see her reflection in a store window and think that asshole let me leave the house looking like a fucking minion and said I looked cute. As a woman that would be way worse. I have zero regrets telling her. I wish I didn't laugh at her. I felt so bad. My wife has a set of orange pajamas that are like Halloween orange, and she breaks them out in the fall, and I make her so mad because I tell her I see the great pumpkin is back for Linus again. You should be dressed as Gru when she comes back. Lamau classic. You better dress up as one by the time she gets back. Despicable you. Today I fucked up by exposing my mother's feelings to a neighbor. This didn't happen today, it happened when I was 7 years old. Growing up as only child, with a divorced mother, I was a very enthusiastic and extrovert kid that was always looking to make new friends and talk to strangers no matter what their age was. Back then I always wanted my mother to find a man that she could love and take well care of her. Honestly, I just wanted someone to treat her right, with the respect she always deserved. We lived in an apartment building, and when my mother had friends over she would sometimes tell them about the 5th floor neighbor and how handsome he was. This man was younger than my mother, and even though he was single she would never consider him as a possible boyfriend due to the age difference. She just found him attractive and that was all. One day when me and my mother were coming back home, as we were waiting for the elevator, another neighbor comes in and enters the elevator with us. My mother asks him what floor he's going to and he says he's going to the 5th floor. This was it. I knew it. The moment I've been waiting for during my whole childhood. My time to shine. There we were, in a small elevator where only 4 people can fit, me, my mother and my about-to-be stepfather. Me being the little extroverted kid I was, I decided to lay it all out. Do what my mother never had the courage to do. I looked that man straight in the eyes and I told him, you know, my mother finds you really attractive. After saying this, there was just silence. Awkward silence for about 5 seconds that seemed like an eternity. The man's face quickly filled with pride and ego, and a big smile. My mother, redder than a tomato, immediately screams to me, "What are you talking about, flash eye burritos? Why are you lying? That's not true." Without even thinking twice I answer, "It's the truth. You are always talking about him and how handsome he is. Admit it." By now this man's ego is so inflated and his smile is getting bigger and bigger by the second. At that point my mother realizes where all this mess is coming from, and says, "Oh no, flash eye burritos. It's not him, it's the neighbor on the 5th floor that I find handsome." This man is the ex-husband of Deborah. Deborah was another lady which had recently divorced and had 2 small children. She also lived in the 5th floor. At this point, I realized the mess that I just did. This man isn't here because he lives in the 5th floor. He's here to pick up his children from his recently divorced ex-wife. The man's ego went up and down like a roller coaster and his face expression quickly changed. He went from thinking my mother was hitting on him due to being recently divorced, to being absolutely rejected. All of this in under 1 minute. When we got home, I got grounded and my mother called Deborah to explain her what had happened and to tell her that she doesn't want to hit on her ex-husband. Too long didn't read. I told the neighbor ex-husband that my mother was in love with him, because I confused him with another neighbor. I was grounded, and my mother had to explain and apologize to the neighbor. But ha, that must have embarrassed everyone in that elevator. I still cringe every time I remember. I thought Flash Eye Burrito was a nickname that your mother gave you, until I saw your username. Slow golf clap. Smile. Definitely not one of my best moments. Whoopsie. When I was 7 I told my babysitter, the very religious neighbors next door, that my mom smokes golden cigarettes and I thought they looked so cool. Turns out they weren't golden cigarettes, it was a brass one-hitter my mom was hitting the ganja from. My mom spanked me for that. At Walmart the other night my 6-year-old says loudly for all to hear, "Why doesn't mommy have a penis?" Ow, I'm no prude, I have no problem answering this, but not in the middle of freaking Walmart, especially now that everyone in our vicinity is quietly laughing. So I go, "Bud, I'm happy to answer that, but not here." Why not here? How did mommy lose her penis? As a socially anxious person, I just closed my eyes and tried to pretend that didn't just happen. Oh my god, that's so funny. I hope karma doesn't hit me back when I become a parent and embarrass me in public the same way I did to my mother.